Hey everybody, Netflix is wading even further into bringing original films from prestige filmmakers into your home, and today I'll be reviewing 3 of them, starting with the one that hits the streaming service this weekend, Andy Serkis's Mowgli, Legend of the Jungle. Originally scheduled for a theatrical release, Mowgli was sold to Netflix back in July by Warner Brothers. The movie features voice performances from Christian Bale, Cate Blanchett, and Serkis himself, and Mowgli stars Rohan Chan as the title character of Mowgli, who's struggling to find his true place in the jungle while simultaneously battling against the evil tiger Shere Khan, who's voiced by Benedict Cumberbatch, in what seems to be a career quest to play every iconic villain named Khan. Most of the familiar characters you know from the Jungle Book are here: Mowgli, Baloo, Bagheera, Shere Khan, Kaa, but this is a decidedly darker take on the story that most people probably haven't seen before. That's not a bad thing in and of itself. Every story is open to different interpretations, and it probably helps that Serkis's take is vastly different from Jon Favreau's remake of The Jungle Book back in 2016. Mowgli, Legend of the Jungle doesn't feel repetitive, particularly in its second half, because Serkis takes his movie in a different direction that many feel is closer to Rudyard Kipling's original vision. It would be wrong to go into this version of Mowgli's story expecting a Disney adventure, but I also wouldn't go in expecting to have a good time in general. This movie is very serious and definitely not for any kids under 10 that you don't want to scar for life. One reveal about the fate of a beloved character is particularly cruel even for adult viewers. And I don't know whether it's because of overall budget limitations or because of the move to Netflix, but the character work on the animals wasn't quite there for me in this film, as they never fully seemed integrated with their environments. That works for some characters like Kaa and Shere Khan, but it makes other characters like Mowgli's wolf pack seem a bit cheap looking in some stretches of the movie. I don't think it'd be fair to label Mowgli as a disaster, as some have, because it was sold to Netflix. It's competently made, and it's able to stake its own claim on the Jungle Book story, not an easy feat to accomplish in the shadow of Disney's massive success with a very similar film just 2.5 years ago. But I don't know if the film would have found the mass appeal required to make it a hit if it had been released theatrically as WB had planned, particularly if it had opened in October against Halloween in the wake of Venom and Bohemian Rhapsody, among other films. Netflix may have been the right place for Warner Brothers to have released this particular movie, though it is discouraging to note that the often beautiful cinematography will never be seen by most people on the big screen. I'd recommend Mowgli, Legend of the Jungle to people curious about this new take on the story, with a strong warning that its dark tone and violence make it not suitable for kids or those who don't like scenes of animal danger. Now, after a limited theatrical run last month, Joel and Ethan Coen's The Ballad of Buster Scruggs is also available to watch now on Netflix. The latest film from the Coen brothers actually consists of 6 vignettes, all meditations of varying tone and content about life and death in the American West. The film starts off with a bang in a vignette that shares the film's title, starring Tim Blake Nelson as Buster Scruggs, traveling balladeer, and much, much more. This vignette ranks up there with the funniest, most effective uses of farce and physical comedy in the Coens' entire filmography, and gives the movie momentum that doesn't stop until the end credits roll. Now, not all of the vignettes are comedic. Throughout the film, we meet James Franco as an outmatched bank robber, Liam Neeson as the conductor of a traveling stage show, Tom Waits as a prospector, Zoe Kazan as a young woman on a trek to Oregon, and a stagecoach full of amazing actors headed to parts unknown. Each segment has its own tone and tempo, and it's fun to see the Coens able to indulge in short-form storytelling inside a film with larger recurring themes. Particular standouts for me were Tom Waits, whose segment All Gold Canyon goes from a nature meditation to a survival thriller, Tim Blake Nelson, a comedic actor who's never really gotten his due and is outstanding as Buster Scruggs in the opening segment, and Harry Melling, who co-stars in Neeson's segment as the traveling performer who finds his position threatened. Melling, probably best known to most of you as Dudley Dursley from the Harry Potter films, really makes an impact in what might be the most underplayed of the 6 segments. The final segment, The Mortal Remains, was the weakest of the film for me, but it also ends the movie on a note that perfectly blends the metaphorical and the literal, so it makes sense that the Coens would save it for last. I really, really like this film, and if you're a fan of the Coen brothers, or if you're looking for what are essentially 6 short westerns, each with clever endings that range from hilarious to haunting to poetic, I highly recommend this movie. Next up is a film that is currently in limited theatrical release and will hit Netflix next week on December 14th, Alfonso Cuarón's Roma. Cuarón's latest film is riding a wave of praise and Oscar buzz after wowing the festival circuit earlier this year, and has already been named Best Picture by the New York Film Critics Circle, among others. Roma tells the story of Cleo, maid to a wealthy doctor's family in Mexico City in the 1970s. Over the course of several months, Cleo's life changes dramatically as she deals with life changes happening both to herself and to the family she works for, in a story that Cuarón has stated is pulled almost entirely from his own memories of growing up. Watching it, I was reminded of Francois Truffaut's The 400 Blows, another film largely drawn directly from the filmmaker's biography. Both directors have a talent for capturing the mundane and for imbuing everyday activities with meaning through cinematography, sound design, character, and story. You can feel how personal this film is for Cuarón and the affection that he feels for his lead character, Cleo, played by Yalitza Aparicio, in a strong, understated performance. Now, it is impossible to deny the incredible craftsmanship behind Roma. Cuarón's choreography and camera work remain stunning, continuing to make his mark as one of the best modern masters of the cinematic art form. Ironically, it's Cuarón's craftsmanship that also kept me on the outside of Roma looking in for most of the film. Unlike Children of Men and Gravity, two Cuarón films that transported me directly into the events of the film, I found myself consciously admiring the film more than being transported by it. It's a good example of the subjectivity of art. Point to any painting in a museum and you'll find 20 different ways that people react to it. The same art that provokes deep emotion in one person will instead invite sober analysis from another. Now, while many have been deeply moved by Roma and its often harrowing depiction of personal struggle, its impact on me was more technical than emotional. I can't deny that Roma is one of the best made films of the year, but it's also not one that I think I will personally return to be transported to another place in time and put into another person's shoes, as I so often am by the films that stick with me the longest. If Roma is playing in a theater near you, I implore you to go see it there if you can. The effects of the cinematography and sound design in particular cannot be replicated in a home setting by anything but the most advanced home theater systems. And I suspect that the home viewing experience of Roma will be vastly different than the theatrical one, and not to the film's benefit. Roma is a film that requires immersion to have its maximum impact, and without that immersion, I worry that it might be a chore to a lot of people, particularly in the context-free atmosphere of Netflix, where it's just another rectangular box in a sea of other boxes. Roma is a special film, and even though it's not one that deeply connected to me, it is a must-watch to get the full scope of the film offerings available in 2018. That's what I thought of what's on Netflix. What did you think? Are there any Netflix films that you think we should review? Let us know in the comments below, and as always, thanks for watching.